All right, guys. So with the trial of Derek Chauvin, who was the main police officer that was involved in the death of George Floyd, with his trial coming up on March 8th, the jury selection is going to begin. And we're going to come into potentially turbulent times in which, the whole country will probably be paying attention to what happens with this trial, right? Because, the whole justice for George Floyd thing, the whole Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of people are paying attention with what's going to happen here, right? A lot of people think that if this police officer gets away with it, it's just another sign of the systemically racist system that they claim is oppressing them, that is in favor of white supremacy and that favors police officers over citizens. All that is stuff that they're going to be upset about if the man is found not guilty. That in response to that possibility, the city basically has planned a police presence during the trial, but it is drawing some criticism from Minneapolis leaders. So let's take a look here at what's going on in Minneapolis. Some Minneapolis City Council members on Monday questioned the city's plan to bring in thousands of soldiers and police officers for former officer Derek Chauvin's trial, saying it could inflame tensions in a traumatized community. Quote, "I have been a little disappointed with the heavy city and police only focus of this plan up until today," Council Member Jeremiah Ellison said, adding, quote, "I feel like I haven't really heard a plan that affirms the kind of trauma that happened this past summer, and not just from the four officers who killed George Floyd, but from the response that happened afterwards." Again, more incompetence from the Minneapolis City Council here. I mean, guys, what do you want them to do, right? You complaining because they want a police presence, so you want no police to be there, so that people can just ride and protest in the streets with no counterforce, right? Like, what do you mean by we want to have a plan that affirms the trauma that happened? What do you want the police to do? You want them to hold hands with the protesters and the rioters, right, and sing Kumbaya? Right? Is that what you want? Do you think we live in that type of world? Right? Or do you think that with or without the police, these people are going to be upset, and there's probably going to be a reaction that's going to be very negative, and that you probably want the police there so that things don't get out of control? Right? Come on, man. This stuff is common sense. Council members spoke during a public briefing Monday that provided more details of the city's preparations for enlisting law enforcement, firefighters, and community groups ahead of the trial in Floyd's death. They announced, too, that they were backing off of a plan to, quote, pay social media influencers to help with communication after some expressed doubts about the proposal. State and city leaders who blamed each other for failures last year face a delicate balancing act as they try to mount a coordinated response for Chauvin's trial. Some residents want a large police presence to thwart a repeat of last year's rioting, which played out for days and left 1,500 buildings damaged or destroyed. Others worry the intense law enforcement presence will actually stoke more unrest, particularly if officers use force on people brutalized by police in the past. Council member Felipe Cunningham asked Minneapolis police for more details about what training they have provided officers about the history of racism in policing and about what they will consider a peaceful protest. He said he was particularly concerned about officers coming from outside the city to help. Quote, "Peaceful protests also include black rage from the ongoing trauma and pain that has been a result of structural and systemic violence, but that kind of emotional expression is very upsetting to Minnesota's sensibilities, particularly with negative emotion," Cunningham said. Police Chief Madria Armadano said Minneapolis police officers have had conversations and roll call about the anger underlining protests. Law enforcement will have a unified command center aimed at allowing key leaders to share information more efficiently. Basically, what you can see here is that Minneapolis seems to be struggling with what to do in response to this trial that's coming up for Derek Chauvin, because like I said at the beginning of this video, guys, if he's found not guilty, and I think his charges are second-degree murder, and I think manslaughter charges as well. If he's found not guilty, the same thing that we saw with Breonna Taylor, there's going to be a lot of anger, right? People are going to be upset, and there's probably going to be riots and protests in the streets. Now, to me, this is going to be a very important test for the Biden administration and for the Democrats in general in terms of how they deal with this type of stuff. Okay, because they talked a lot of big game when Trump was in office. They tried to blame everything on Trump. But like I told you guys, in politics, the pendulum always swings the other way. These protests and these movements are not going away, right? And I can imagine, like I've said, if the man is found not guilty, we're probably going to get riots and protests. That's probably what we're going to see. And my question is, will Biden condemn it or will he perpetuate it? Okay, what is Biden's response going to be, right? Because everybody condemned what happened at the Capitol. Okay, all the conservatives came out and said that's wrong. Okay, that violence is not justified. Destroying property is not justified, right? There's a right way to go about doing things. I want to see that same standard be applied if this situation takes a turn for the worse and things start to get testy, right? And riots start to break out. I want to see that same consistency. I want to see the Democrats go out there and denounce the violence because, again, what happened last year happened. It's done. It's almost been a year. At this point, there's no reason to continue to protest and riot about it because you did all that stuff last year, and if the man is found not guilty, what did you accomplish? So doing more of it, to me, means that you're still not going to accomplish anything. So, again, I want to see what are the Democrats going to say. How are the Democrats going to handle this? You have some people that don't want police there. You have some people that do want them there. Me personally, I think you do need a police presence there because you shouldn't let people just riot in the streets, okay, and destroy property because they don't like a decision that was made in the courtroom, right? Same thing, in terms of what happened at the Capitol. Just because you don't like how something went down doesn't mean that, you got to take matters into your own hands. Right? That same thing, that same principle applies here. I don't want to see any violence. Right? I don't want to see any riots. So I hope that the Democrats are going to be consistent on this, the potential violence that may come from this. I really hope that they do. And if Republicans were smart, they would get ahead of this and be like, listen, the Democrats, you guys have a responsibility after this trial, if things get testy, to denounce violence immediately because of what happened at the Capitol, because all that virtue signaling that you guys did. You have a responsibility to do it now. Matter of fact, you really should be telling people ahead of time, no violence will be tolerated. Ahead of time. You need to get on this now, not later. Same thing goes with black leadership. Black leadership, all these civil rights activists, if they really care about their people, right? If they really care about black folks, they would get ahead of this and say, nah, this is not the time to be protesting and rioting in the street because, you upset with the outcome of this trial. This is not the time to do it. We already did that. That didn't change nothing. Here we are. We have to deal with it. We have to move on. That's the right message. So again, like I said, this is going to be a test. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now, I hope that there's no violence. I hope that, we can do this peacefully. We can sort things out peacefully. However, I don't know, man. We'll see. I just want to see what the response is going to be because this is going to be a big, big, big test to see how the Democrats and the media respond to this. So this is coming up. This is something to watch for, guys, because I think all eyes are going to be on this once this starts because the potential outcome, everybody kind of knows, if things don't go the way that, a lot of people want, then, it could get ugly. Right. And I want to see all these liberals that was on The View, all these talk show people, CNN. It's going to be very interesting to see how they frame it. How is the media going to frame this? How is the media going to frame it? Are they going to frame it for what it is, which is unjustified violence? Or are they going to try to justify it? With systemic racism? We'll see. So keep an eye out on this, guys. This is early, but this is something I'm seeing it come up. Like I said, Minneapolis seems to be preparing in certain ways, We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.